When I thought of upgrading my MSI gaming laptop, the one I bought just a year ago, I knew it was time to push its performance a bit further. It originally came with 16 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, configured as 8 gigabytes in each slot. But for my growing needs, especially with video editing and multitasking, I decided to go for a serious upgrade, 64 gigabytes in total. That's 32 gigabytes in each slot. Now the good news? My laptop, the MSI Sword, supports up to 96 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. So 64 gigabytes is a solid, future-proof upgrade. For storage, I had been using a powerful 2 terabyte NVMe drive, the Western Digital SN7100, externally via an NVMe case. This drive boasts a blazing fast read speed of 7,250 megabytes per second and write speed of 6,900 megabytes per second. Meanwhile, my laptop already came with a 1 terabyte Gen4 NVMe SSD from Micron, the 2400 series. While that's decent, it just wasn't enough. Since I've recently started creating a lot more video content, storage has become critical. So once I opened up the laptop, I decided, why not? Let's upgrade both the RAM and install the 2 terabyte NVMe into the vacant M2 slot inside the laptop itself. Let's begin by unscrewing the back panel of my MSI laptop. There are 13 Phillips head screws that need to be removed to take off the back cover. Once all the screws are out, use a plastic prying tool and gently pry open the case from each corner. Take your time, as this step requires a bit of patience. Inside, you'll notice the 4-cell 65 watt-hour battery. Before making any upgrades, it's always a good idea to disconnect the battery connector from the motherboard to avoid any short circuits. Now let's take a look inside. At the top, you'll see the M2 NVMe SSD slot, already filled with a 1 terabyte Gen4 NVMe SSD from Micron, the 2400 series. If you want, you can replace this with a Gen5 NVMe SSD, which offers even faster speeds. However, I already have a powerful Western Digital SN7100 2 terabyte Gen4 NVMe drive, so I decided to install it into the lower vacant M2 slot, which supports Gen4 speeds only. Once inserted into the slot, gently press down the SSD and secure it with a screw. If you have thermal cooling pads, apply silicone gel pads on top of the SSD for better heat dissipation. Next, let's move on to the RAM. The RAM area is covered by a metal protective shroud. Use a small flathead, screwdriver, or lever tool to lift this cover carefully. Take a moment to observe how the existing 8 GB RAM modules are installed. Then push the latches outwards and gently remove both sticks. Now install the new Crucial 32 GB DDR5 MHz SODIMM modules. One in each slot. Push firmly toward the board and you'll hear a satisfying click when it locks into place.
Do the same procedure for the other RAM module.
Close the metal cover over the
RAM module
and then reconnect the battery connector to the motherboard. Before sealing everything up, use a small blower to clean out any dust or particles inside the chassis. Finally, reattach the back panel and tighten all 13 screws securely. When you power on the system again, it might take a little longer than usual as it reconfigures the new hardware. Now, with 64 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM and a combined internal SSD capacity of approximately 2.75 terabytes, the system is supercharged and future-ready, perfect for content creation, gaming, or multitasking with ease. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, make this channel a part of your memory, and don't forget to like and subscribe.